Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Raja Janarajana Yashodanandana Raja Janarajana Yamuna Tihira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Raja Janarajana Yashodanandana Raja Janarajana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnu Pad Brahmamsa Privraj Kachari Ashuttara Sata Shri Śrimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Vrindavan Mathura Navadvip Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Yamuna Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai Brihad Mridanga Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Oh glorious to assemble devotees. Oh glorious to assemble devotees. Oh glorious to assemble devotees. Oh glorious to Sri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Oh glorious to Oh thank you. Thank you. Do I do the word do I get the book? Or oh sorry. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 2, verse 29. Nashtaha socha mudha dhiyo jata bhashmashti dharina vishantu shiva dikshayatam yatra devim surasavam nashta shocha mudadiyo nashta shocha mudhadeyo jata bhashmati dharina jata bhashmashti dharina vishantu shiva dikshayam vishanti shiva dikshayam yatra devim surasavam yatra devim surasavam nasta shocha mudhadiyo jata bhashmashti dharina vishantu shiva dikshayam yatra devim surasavam nasta shocha mudhadiyo jata bhashmashti dharina vishantu shiva dikshayam yatra devim surasavam nasta shocha mudhadiyo yatam bhasmasti dharina vishantum shiva dikshayam yatra devim surasavam nashta socha mudhadiyo jata bhasmasti dharina vishantu shiva dikshayam yatra devim surasavam nashta shocha cleanliness mudhadiya foolish jata bhashma ashtidharina wearing long hair ashes and bones vishantu may enter shiva um, dikshayam into initiation of worship of Shiva yatra where devam are spiritual sura avasham wine and liquor. Translation: those who vow to worship Lord Shiva are so foolish that they imitate him by keeping long hair on their heads. When initiated into worship of Lord Shiva, they prefer to live on wine, flesh, and other such things. Purport: indulging in wine and meat, keeping long hair on one's head, not bathing daily, and smoking ganja, marijuana, are some of the habits which are accepted by foolish creatures who do not have regulated lives. By such behavior, one becomes devoid of transcendental knowledge. In the initiation into the Shiva mantras, there are Mudri Kashtaka, in which it is sometimes recommended that one makes his sitting place on the vagina and thus desire nirvana or dissolution of existence. In that process of worship, wine is needed, or sometimes in place of wine, palm tree juice, which is converted into an intoxicant. This is also offered according to Shiv Agama, a scripture on the method of worshipping Lord Shiva. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna. Good. So basically, around the world, people are observing Deepavali. Some people observed it yesterday, but I've been told by some astrologers that actually Deepavali falls today. So I just to say something a little bit of Diwali. So Diwali, when we hear Diwali, people say it's the festival of light, the victory of good over evil, light over darkness. You know, all these we hear all these mode of goodness phrases that make you feel good, but these are not the primary reasons. The primary reason of Deepavali is Lord Ram returning to Ayodhya with Sita Devi and Lakshman. So back in January, the Ayodhya temple, the Pran Pratishtha happened of Lord Ram. So it was like everyone, I mean, I was in India at the time, everyone was saying Lord Ram has returned. So when Lord Ram returned, the whole kingdom was lighted with diyas, and I'm presuming they used their own version of fireworks in that time. So that is the purpose. The purpose is to celebrate the coming of Lord Ram back to his kingdom. It's not the festival of light. So these mode of goodness phrases or adjectives, whatever you say, they may be lessons we can derive from Deepavali, but they are not the primary reason. So I was just thinking about that because the tendency is that the more you go into these so-called lessons or these adjectives, it can get very impersonal, and it takes it away from the actual purpose of Lord Ram. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. So tomorrow, I believe, is Govardhan Puja. Also, in the Hindu calendar, they believe that tomorrow, the day after Deepavali, is New Year. But Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because we consider Gaurapanim the day of the beginning of the new year, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to start a new spiritual revolution. So generally it goes by the Yuga Dharma. So our new year is Gaurapanim, not Deepavali. Anyway, I just want to mention that. Right, so let's set some context. So we know there's a sacrificial sacrifice going on. So all the demigods, the great personalities arrive. Narada Muni, Lord Brahma, Brighu, Daksha, and even Lord Shiva and his followers come. Daksha is the father-in-law of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva married his daughter. So anyway, Daksha was never in agreement to this because of Lord Shiva's appearance. You know, he's covered in ash, he smokes ganja, you know, he doesn't look very, how can you say, cultured by the external situation. But he's a transcendental personality. So anyway, he comes there and so when Daksha arrives, he doesn't rise to greet him because, you know, generally you rise to greet seniors and elders. Lord Shiva is in his transcendental meditation. So then Daksha gets very upset and he starts to curse Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva, being transcendental, is completely unaffected by this. But as a result of his, he calls Lord Shiva actually inauspicious. And it's kind of a funny thing to say because Shiva means auspicious. So anyway, there's a series of curses he says to him, but indirectly he's glorifying Lord Shiva. So anyway, so Nandishwara gets really upset by this. And Nandishwara is the carrier of Lord Shiva. You know, all the personalities have a carrier, like Lord Vishnu has Garuda, Ganesh has the rat. Anyway, Nandishwara starts to curse the Brahmanas that they're very attached to their rituals, and they're going to miss the point of these rituals. They're going to become basically absorbed in their status. They're going to become materialistic. So then Bhrigu fires back. Bhrigu says, you're gonna basically become atheistic. You're gonna become tamasic in your, because they were already leading a certain lifestyle which wasn't very cultured or Brahminical. They were very because it was lower members of society. He said, you're going to indulge more and more in this, and eventually you're going to become atheistic. So anyway, it was going backwards and forwards. Interesting, Lord Brahma, Narada Muni did not respond. They were very sad to see this. They didn't do any curses, even though they were from the Brahminical community. Lord Shiva became so sad and morose, he just left the arena because he was sad to see this going on. So this is kind of like the context. So let's speak about Lord Shiva. So there are 3 types of Lord Shivas in creation. There is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada talks about a Sadashiv in the Vaikuntha. That Shiva is Vishnu Tattva. He has 93% qualities of Krishna. So it's explained that he is the source of Mahavishnu. So then in the intermediary aspect between the spiritual world and the material world, there is a place called Maheshtam. It's just beyond Brahman, but not within Vaikuntha. So there's a place called Maheshtam. So there is another Lord Shiva there. He's called Sadashiv as well, but another name he's known by is Shambhu. And he is considered, in Brahma Samhita, he's described as someone who is he is like Krishna, but he isn't. So the example in Brahma Samhita is given of yogurt, of milk. When you add some sort of acidic property to it, it turns to yogurt. So milk can turn to yogurt, but yogurt cannot go back to milk. So that Lord Shiva, he's somewhat got a spiritual body, but there is a tinge of materialism, material matter in him. So he's not a Jiva Tattva. He's in a different category on his own. So he is basically considered to be the personality who is the personification of the glance of Lord Mahavishnu when he glances at Pradhan. And Pradhan is like the where the material elements are in an inert, subtle state. That Pradhan gets activated with jivas and time. So the personification of that is Shambhu. So Shambhu is because Krishna never touches material nature. It's Lord. So Lord Shambhu does that. So Shambhu is that person. So that's why he's in Vedic culture. We worship his genitals, the Shivalingam. That's the reason for that. So he's considered so just like we have Mother Nature, which is Mahamaya. Lord Shiva is the father of material nature. Then the third Lord Shiva is the one in the material universe, which comes. We read about when Lord Brahma gets angry. So from his forehead comes Rudra, and Rudra, and there's different expansions of Rudra. So these expansions are basically they are involved in different aspects, but mostly to do with destruction. And the first one is the personality in charge of the mode of ignorance. He superintends that. So there's 3 different types, and there's many Lord Shivas. So we hear about Lord Shiva when he's chased by the demon, because he gives the demon a boon that if you touch someone's head, the head will explode. So that demon chases after Lord Shiva. It's talking about that Lord Shiva. The Shiva that's in charge of the mode of ignorance is talking about that Lord Shiva. So the Lord Shiva that was in this pastime is that particular 3rd category of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is a very unique, very interesting personality in Vedic culture. He's also considered, he's a Vaishnava, pure Vaishnava. But his role in the material universe, the Rudra expansions, are not eternal. When his universe dies, when universe comes to an end, he also comes to an end. So he's not eternal. His body is fully material, but he's spiritual. So it's explained that he has different abodes. I believe it's in Tibet, I think. So there's a mountain called Kailash. So that's considered to be the abode of one of the Rudra expansions. And Lord Shiva and his wife reside there. Interestingly, the Chinese government, because it's under Chinese rule, they don't. They try to once. Generally because it's in the Himalayas, and they don't allow anyone to climb that mountain. and they kind of apparently they even the Chinese government or the people have tried to fly over or fly near there on a helicopter, and it became so turbulent they had to abandon the mission. So that place is considered holy to Buddhists and to Vaishnavas and Hindus. So that's the material aspect abode of Lord Shiva. In the heavenly planets, Lord Shiva also has another abode. So there's counterparts, there's replicas, just like you have Badarik Ashram, Badrinath, and in the heavenly planets you have Badarik Ashram, which is in the heavenly planets. So what's really interesting here is the curse of the curses that's happening here. So Bhrigu curses Lord Shiva that they'll become atheistic, and Nandishwara curses Nandishwara curses Bhrigu that they'll become materialistic, they'll miss the essence. So if you look at Vedic history, we see that within Kali Yuga, the Brahmanas became so materialistic that they started doing animal sacrifice. So then Lord Buddha had to come to stop it. Even now, if you go to India, like if you go to North India, many Brahmins are very materialistic. I'm talking about even so-called. You find Brahmins even in the holy places that they want money from you for a ritual. They don't have technically. They don't really have spiritual potency because they don't have the qualities that we see in Bhagavad Gita. I've seen it. So when I took my grand's ashes to Haridwar, because you take it when someone dies, you take ashes there. I remember we met these Brahmins and they were just trying to extort us for money, and it's really sad to see that. It can get really frustrating as well. So so Brahmins technically they offer a service, but they're not meant to say this. You got to give me this amount, because that's not they're not supposed to do that, because it becomes a Vaishya act. You're meant to give them something out of your out of the goodness of your heart, but you're meant to give them according to what your capacity is, and a Brahmin will accept it. So even if it's 1 cent, like in England we have 1 pence, so 1 cent, that they have to accept. They can't say, "Oh, you need to give me more." They're not supposed to do that. But if you go to Brahmins, actually, some of the Brahmins I've met are really good business people. There's Brahmins in India who are like super rich. Like you see these Christian preachers in the south, very fanatical, very sensational, very dynamic speakers, and they get money from their congregation, and they're much more richer than the congregation. You hear of them having private planes, mansions, they go on exotic holidays. So it's a bit like that going on with the Brahmins. Actually, I remember like we used to have this family guru, that, and he actually like in Hindu in Vedic culture, you get at certain ages you will get because in ISKCON we give second initiation after first initiation, but in Vedic culture you get second Brahmin initiation first, and that you get that, and then you basically can study the Vedas, you can do rituals. So that's like the Vedic culture. So I had that when I was I think I was 13 or 12. You get it as the certain age groups you have it in. So it's called Upayanam ceremony. So I had that. And so I was initiating. I saw the Brahmin thread. I didn't really understand it because I was quite young. So anyway, so this Brahmin, this Pandit, he was very learned. He actually had some siddhis, but I noticed he was becoming very materialistic. And like he once stayed at my uncle's house, and like he was staying upstairs, and my family we were watching some Bollywood film, and he came down, and there was a Bollywood song going on, and it was like in this village dialect, and he was like, "I really like this song." I was thinking, that's strange. Why are you why are you absorbed in this? This is not your business. Your business is devotion, is worship to the Lord. So so that's what Brahmins have become like. So anyway, so then the curse on Lord Shiva's followers, because they were already inclined to living a tamasic way, they became very, very tamasic, very degraded. And like if you go to like North India, especially Haridwar, the mountains, you'll see these people. Like I've seen them. Like these people, they walk around naked, or they'll have a copin. They'll have their bodies are covered in ash. These people are very scary, and like there's different categories of them. There's one sect called Aghori, and Aghoris are basically people who basically they live at cemeteries. They eat human flesh, and they try to look like Lord Shiva. They even have a trident. They're imitating him, and we see, and a lot of them and most of them are impersonalists. So if you see generally, a lot of Lord Shiva followers are impersonalists. because they're Mayavadi. They're like, like they believe Lord Shiva is the supreme, or they believe they can become like Lord Shiva. So this is the result of the curse coming into play. So I mean, I won't talk about the ritual, but there's an interesting festival actually it happens in India, where in Shivratri, which is the appearance of Lord Shiva, they the followers, all these Hindus get together, normal, congregation, and they'll have this like type of program where they'll drink milk mixed with cannabis. It's called bhang. They'll drink it and they'll become extremely high and they'll dance like crazy. It's like what the hippies used to do, when people take psychedelic drugs to get high. It's a bit like that, but they see it as a point of worship. Now, and also we also understand that some followers of Lord Shiva have created rituals which are totally not even in the Vedas, like human sacrifice, right? And they say this is in our scriptures, but it's completely been added, So anyway, so you can see the Lord Shiva followers. If you see a true Lord Shiva follower is very rare. One that understands he's a servant of Lord Krishna. So anyway, so it's explained that a true follower of Lord Shiva, because if you go the indirect path to back to Godhead, if you read the story of Gopal Kumar, because he goes through the different planetary systems, he ends up in Maheshtam. And they said that Lord Shiva in that Maheshtam, the Sadashiv, in the intermediary between the spiritual and the material, he's sitting, and on his lap is sitting Parvati, and he's preaching Bhāgavatam. He's teaching his followers Bhakti Yoga, and from there his followers will go into Vaikuntha. So anyway, so just speaking about curses. So like when we look at the Bhagavatam, we come across a lot of curses, right? I curse you to do this. It's generally Brahmanas who curse or Kshatriyas. But it's very important to know that when there's a difference between a curse given by a materialistic person and a Vaishnava. When a Vaishnava curses, he curses with the curse, there's a remedy. He'll say, you will be in this situation, and then eventually you will come into contact with the teachings of Krishna consciousness. So if we see Naluku Vera Manigriv, they were down, they were enjoying, they were naked and they were enjoying with ladies, and Narada Muni came along, and they didn't cover their bodies, and Narada Muni cursed them, and they were cursed to become trees. They were cursed to become twin Arjuna trees, and Arjuna trees are really strong trees, massive trees, and they were so, and he said, Lord Krishna will come and he will deliver you. And we see that in the pastime of Damodar. So we did the arti today. Lord Krishna pulled it down. So when Vaishnavas curse, these curses are in line with Shastric principles, and the purpose is to elevate the person's consciousness. They're not done out of ego, out of envy, out of lust, out of greed. It's purely spiritual. And when Vaishnavas give curse, it's really rare. Sometimes we hear Vaishnavas giving curse, and it seems apparently to be malicious or unnecessary. But generally, the principles is that curses are given with a spiritual context. They're given either the part of the Lord's plan, or they're done a way to elevate people. Now, there was a demon that was killed by Lord Ram. He was cursed, and he attacked Lord Ram, and Lord Ram killed him. And then that person, the demon, before he died, realized who he was and offered his respects and obeisance to Lord Ram, and Lord Ram blessed him, and that person went back to what he was before. So I don't remember that demon's name. I remember reading it, but so these curses were actually given very rarely by the personalities. It's not like they were giving it left, right, and center, because if they did, it would cause chaos. And if you think about it, if you think about it, this material world being here is a curse. Living here, having this body, maintaining this body, so many things, it's a curse. So giving a curse just because someone upset you is not really helping the person. And that's why in Kali Yuga, people don't have that potency to curse someone, like, I'll curse you to become this, because it's limited. Curses come about because these personalities in the past, they had great piety, they did great austerity, and they accumulated this type of bank account where they can draw from it, right? It's not spiritual qualities, it's just a material power. So, we see that Gandharvi, I think the mother of the Kauravas, she cursed Lord Krishna, and she said, when she was cursing, she said, but, she covered her eyes because her husband was blind, and she had a sadhana, she did all these austerities, And she said, by the power of my stories, I curse you that the Yadava dynasty will be destroyed. Right. So every time you draw from, if you do that, then the bank your bank account gets reduced. So in Kali Yuga, people don't have that power. They don't have that potency. So, but in previous ages they did, but they didn't give it willy-nilly. They didn't give it to anyone just for the sake of giving it. So interestingly also is if we look at if we analyze cases, like if you see Parikshit Maharaj, he was, we know the pastime is that he was dehydrated, he was tired, and he came into the hermitage of Shamika Rishi, and he saw Shamika Rishi, and because he's a great king, he's the king of the world, he expected to be welcomed and at least given, because he really wanted a glass of water. And due to some divine situation, he got frustrated and he put a dead snake over Shamika Rishi's neck. So Shamika Rishi was in meditation, so then Parikshit Maharaj left. I mean, and it was completely out of character for him, and he was a virtuous person, full of all good qualities, even Krishna saved him in the womb of his mother Uttara. So then when his son saw this, Shringi, the son of Shamika, he got so upset and he immediately cursed Parikshit Maharaj to die in 7 days by the bite of a poisonous snake. Anyway, then his father found out what happened and he chastised his son. He said, "What the hell have you done? It was such a minor offense and you cursed a king. You didn't look at the context. You didn't look at the situation. You're not looking at society. If this king goes, what will happen to society?" He did it it was a complete out of character action, and you judged him by that. Now the world's going to suffer. So then when Shamika Rishi went to Parikshit and made him aware that my foolish son has done this, he's cursed you unnecessarily, Parikshit Maharaj said he accepted his situation and he went to the banks of the river, I think it's the river Saraswati, and then then Shukadev Goswami came and spoke the Bhāgavatam. So and so what we see is there that curse was unknowingly given harshly, and obviously it's Krishna's divine plan, it would happen, but there's a context, there's different levels of gravity in which you give curses, and that situation didn't deserve it. We hear of Chitraketu, who was cursed by Parvati because he laughed when seeing Parvati sitting on Lord Shiva's lap. Now, Chitraketu is a transcendental personality, he's a pure devotee. And it was a very minor offense, but Parvati, because of her nature of possessiveness, she cursed Chitraketu to come as Vittasura. We know the pastime of Vittasura was killed by Indra, but even then, in that form, he still remembered who he was, he still remembered his devotional acts, and he encouraged Indra to kill him, So it kind of worked out very nicely for him. But curses were rarely given. We shouldn't think that they were giving left, right, and center. Oh, you didn't bring me my breakfast, I'm going to curse you. And we see like there's personalities who are like that. Durvasa Muni, he's known as he's a jnani, and he's got great powers. But what's the result? He gets angry very quickly, and he gives curses so liberally. Like when he cursed Ambarish Maharaj to die, because Ambarish Maharaj was caught in a situation of when to break his fast. And then, as a result, Lord Vishnu came, sent his Sudarshan Chakra, who chased Durvasa Muni all over the universe, So when people give curses wrongly, then there's a bad situation. But a devotee, when he gives a curse, there's a higher purpose. It's Krishna's divine plan. Now, what we notice, like, also is that we notice in the pastime of this, Bhrigu Muni and Nandishwara. So, Bhrigu Muni, he's explained that they became like karma kandis. They became materialistic. And Nandishwara, they became impersonalists. They were affected by Gyan. So, if you think about it, karma and Gyan are obstacles on the path of pure devotional service. These two personalities cannot become devotees because these two categories of followers, because one is too fruitive, one is too impersonal. So, in the Nectar Devotion, it says, Anyabhilashita Shunyam, Gyan Karmadi, Anavritam, Anukulyana Krishna, Anushilanam Bhakti Uttama. That pure devotional service is free from karma and gyan, and it's favorable to Krishna, and that's pure bhakti. But when you have these two aspects, they take you away. They're considered to be like Nectar Devotion describes them as witches that take you away from Krishna, takes you away from pure devotional service. So it's important in our bhakti that we are able to analyze ourselves, our motivation, our actions, and ensure that what we're practicing is in line with bhakti. Are we doing something because we're doing it for ourselves? Are we doing it for Krishna? Are we doing it something for a false prestige and sense gratification? Are we doing it for Krishna? Is our knowledge making us impersonal? Like, I gave the example of describing Lord Diwali in impersonal terms, mode of goodness terms. It's very important we don't fall into that. We have to know the true purpose, and the true purpose comes about by knowing Shastra, knowing scripture. And when we know that, we will be able to practice bhakti, and that we can also be helped by associating with pure devotees who can correct us. So, in so-called, we see that even in Krishna, there's different, even there's personalities who've deviated from Krishna consciousness and they started their own parampara. We have the Asampradayas who started, they worship Krishna or Lord Chaitanya, but they have their own idea, and some of it's very deviant and some of it's very subtle. So we have Sahajyas. Sahajyas are people who confuse a mature emotion with a spiritual emotion, or there's followers who want to become the wives of Krishna, who want to become associates of Krishna by imitating the practices of Krishna. So anyway, there's all these bogus things that happen, and that's because it's undercut by karma and gyan. So we have to ensure we don't become like this. Now, and like one of the greatest dangers to spiritual life is Mayavad philosophy. So we know that Lord Shiva came. It says in the Padma Purana that he came to preach a philosophy which was basically covered Buddhism. Because at the time India became a Buddhist country, people rejected the Vedas, they rejected Brahminical culture. I mean, devotees and Brahmanas were there, but they weren't prominent because the emperor at the time, Ashoka, he patronized the religion. So it spread all over Asia. The Lord Shiva came as a part of the plan of Krishna to bring people gradually back to the Vedas. So it was like an evolution in Fusion. So anyway, he preached this philosophy that, which was basically covered Buddhism. He said that actually, except the Vedas, actually we are the supreme. It's not that nothing exists; things do exist, but it's illusion. And there's different variation concoctions of this, but it's actually Buddhist philosophy. It's actually atheistic philosophy. So Bhrigu Muni's philosophy came to play. So we have to ensure that it's very easy, that we don't fall into this trap. So when Prabhupada first came to the West, like I heard from a class by Ravinder Swarup, Prabhu, he was saying that they were saying in 26 Second Avenue, why does Prabhupada talk about these Mayavadis? Who are they? Do they actually exist? They're like some mythological creature, some mythological philosophy that existed in the past. When did you ever see a Mayavadi? What they didn't realize was Prabhupada was talking about them. Because Prabhupada came to the West to deliver people from impersonalism and voidism, and people were all affected by that. In fact, this Western civilization is heavily influenced by impersonalism, even the different religious traditions. Anything that leads you away from Krishna is basically voidism and impersonalism. Because this is the results of the curses of the sages. So. So, I was just relating to this. I was thinking about, we see pastime where, Parikshit Maharaj, when he came across Kali. Kali is the personality who's in charge of Kali Yuga, and Kali was attacking the cows, breaking the legs. But Parikshit Maharaj didn't kill or destroy or curse that personality. He basically understood that Kali is a plan of Krishna. He's a part of Krishna's plan, and he gave him He restricted him by giving him shelter in 4 sinful places. So he kind of controlled him and restricted him. And I was thinking that I think, why didn't he curse him? You know, like Chitraketu was cursed over just a minor thing, and Kali is did such an evil thing, attacking a cow. You know, it's one of the main sins, one of the main paths. So the understanding is that, like, when like, if you think about an action, if you think about someone's behavior, you've got to think about the context. Kali is actually, everyone has a dharma. Kali is actually doing what his dharma is, his duty. His duty, and if you think about it, he's actually a devotee in some weird and wonderful way of Krishna. He's doing what Krishna wants him to do. He's an agent of Krishna. So Parikshit Maharaj understood this. He understood the situation. He understood what the purpose was, but he restricted him. So he didn't let his inner emotional feelings take precedent. He also did his duty, but he made sure that the other person's duty wasn't affected. And I was thinking that's such an example of a great king, of a wise, sober person who doesn't follow the whims of his senses, of his emotion. He follows what dharma is, what the scripture says, you know. And because killing a cow is a bad thing. Like, even and then you can compare that, actually, like, then you can say, so then if you think about it, why did, like, personalities like Jay and Vijay get cursed? No, they didn't do. They apparently, it looks like it was a minor thing. But what's greater? What's a greater curse is what's a greater an offense is stopping someone from becoming God conscious. The 4 Kumaras were coming to Vaikuntha to take darshan of Lord Vishnu, but the 4 Kumaras stopped them. There was some pride there. There was some arrogance there. Someone may say that that's a minor offense, but it's actually a major offense, because you have 4 Brahmavadis who want to meet the Lord, and they stopped him. So hence they were cursed. And obviously it's part of the Lord's plan. Everything's part of the Lord's plan. But it's very interesting with that, when we equate things, we apply, when we analyze, assess things, we apply our own morality, our own construct of what is good and right, good and bad. But we don't think about what scripture says, what dharma says. Stopping people from becoming God conscious, stopping people from coming to the temple and seeing the Lord, is a great offense. It says in the Gita, that in one of the purports, I think it's in the second chapter, that if you're not preaching Krishna consciousness, you're causing violence to someone. So we should always act according to what scripture is. What's the purpose of Krishna? Anyway, so I'll stop here. If anyone has any questions or comments. Yes, Hadai Pran Prabhu. Yeah. 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 That's right. So the personality of Lord Shiva that's within our material universe, he's the Rudra expansion. He's not Sadashiv from Maheshtam. So that particular form is involved in regulating the mode of ignorance and destruction. There's different types of destruction, so they're in charge of that. Now, in Krishna consciousness, if you go to Vrindavan, for example, or if you even go to Mayapur, or if you read, like, the Goswami's literatures, you can't take a step without coming in contact with Lord Shiva. Because who is Lord Shiva? It says he's, Gopi, there's 4 different Lord Shiva forms of Lord Shiva in Vrindavan. One of them is Gopishwar Mahadev. He's considered to be the protector of the Dham. In Mayapur, I forgot the name of that particular form, then Lord Shiva. So he's the protector of the Dham. So we do worship Lord Shiva, but we worship him as the guardian of the Dham. We worship him as a Param Vaishnava, because it says so in scripture. But we don't worship him as the supreme, because it's an offense. Now, the original form of Shiva, the spiritual form of Shiva, is is in Maheshtam, which is Sadashiv. But even that form, he's considered to be uh, between God and the Jiva. Okay, because it says in Brahma Samhita in 5.45, it says that the example is given in yoga. But we can't become that particular Lord that Rudra. We can become Indra, become a Brahma, or but we can't become Shiva. So we have to be very careful that when we offer respects to him, but we do understand that he's a Param Vaishnava. We're asking him blessings that we can go forward in our Krishna consciousness, and we can and that we to overcome any material desires on the path of bhakti. But he is not to be equated with a demi. He is a demi, and the one in the universe is a demigod, but he's a very specific, very special category. Does that answer your question? You want to ask any further to that? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So people, but Lord Shiva, there are people. Only Vaishnavas know how to properly worship Lord Shiva. But there are materialistic people who worship Lord Shiva for materialistic boons. And because Lord Shiva is very easily pleased, he gives that boon. But that's the material universe Lord Shiva. That's not the Maheshtam Lord Shiva. He doesn't give material boons. He empowers those Lord Shivas in the universe to do their service, but he doesn't give material boons. He preaches people to go back to Vaikuntha. Um, so the thing, because of his nature, because of the nature of his personality, yeah, he is very easily pleased, but he's also easily angered as well. We hear of Brigu. I think Brigu is one of his brothers, if I'm correct. The Brigu, when he was testing who's the supreme, he went to see Lord Brahma, his father. He went to see Lord Shiva, and he insulted Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva went to kill him. So it shows he gets very easily angered very quickly, and he's easily pleased. So he's kind of like, because he's in charge of the mode of ignorance. But because therefore we have to provide evidence to people why Lord Shiva is meant to be worshipped in the correct way. And like he does give boons which are a bit to the wrong people. Like he gave a boon to Ravan. He gave boon to different demons, because generally the demons worship him because he's so easily pleased. But if you worship him, if you worship in the sense that like as the Brahma Samhita gives the example, then you can get also spiritual boons as well from him. Like his wife Durga Devi. His one of the forms of Durga Devi is Katyayani. In Vrindavan there's a temple of her, and people worship. The gopis worshipped her to marry Krishna. But people also actually go to that place in temple. It's near. I don't know where it is. It's near. It's a part of Vrindavan. I forgot the name. People go there to worship her so they can get married as well, and she gives that boon. But they worship her with the form like, "Please give me a Vaishnava husband." So does that answer your question? Yes. Anyone else would like to make up? Hare Krishna. Thank you. Mm. Yes. Yes. It's between Vaikuntha. So you have the material universe, right? And then you come to Brahmajyoti. It's after the Brahmajyoti, but before Vaikuntha. So if you read Brihad Bhagavatam, it talks about that. So it's between those two aspects. Even Brahma Samhita mentions it, 5.45. So it's between. So it's a spirit. It's kind of like a spiritual planet, somewhat. So when there's a universal destruction, when all the universes are destroyed, Mahesh Dham is still there. It's not destroyed. It stays there. So yeah, of course. Yes, that's correct. Yes. Mm. because he's the father. See, before those planets come into existence, right? Because I explained there's something called pradhan. Pradhan is all the material elements that are existing in an inert, subtle state. When it gets activated with jivas and time, it becomes mahatattva, and then from that, Mahavishnu, those elements start coming out of Mahavishnu, and the planets come and jivas. Now, the person who activates that, because it says the personification of the glance of Mahavishnu's glance is Shiva, is Shambhu. That's what Shambhu. So Shambhu, he's touching material nature. So he's interacting with it. So he's kind of like he's getting contaminated a little bit. Contaminated not in the sense that we get contaminated, but he's kind of getting tainted by materialism. So we need that personality there to do that job. But at the same time, he's also doing spiritual activities as well. Like he's preaching to his pure followers about the process of bhakti. Why? You could make the argument: why do we need that personality there? Why do we need that platform? Why not go Brahmajyoti and Vaikuntha? You can make that argument, but I've not really heard a good argument for that. But my understanding is that Lord Krishna doesn't really touch material nature, and he needs that specific personality to do that job. And Shambhu is the best person for that job. So that's why we say he is God, he isn't God. He's his own tattva. He's a very special tattva. It's very difficult to understand his mood. But what we know is that he is the one who's giving empowerment to the other Lord Shivas in the universe, and he's actually fully conversant with Krishna consciousness, and he's preaching Bhagavatam. So but because he's touching material nature, so therefore we need a person for that job who can get his hands dirty. Like you have watching the films. I'm sure they exist in real life. Like you have the special forces, but there's another elite force who do like work that the government can't don't want to take accountability for. There's a name for that. Black ops. They call them black ops. So I'm not saying he's in black ops, but he's doing a job that is quite a tainted job. It's a very demanding job, and he's the best man to do it. So Lord Krishna, so that Shiv in the spiritual world transforms himself, taken that role. And there's personalities who are going through the indirectly back to Godhead, again the long path. They have to go there. They're not fully Krishna conscious yet, but they do know Krishna is God, but they're attached to Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva has to train them so they can go from there to Vaikuntha. So does that answer your question? It's a good topic. It's worth researching. But if you want to look into it more, Brihad Bhagavatamrita is a very good scripture. I remember reading a while back. I can't remember the full details, but it's like that. Anyone else? Okay, we'll finish here. Thank you very much. Śrimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Oh.